the Seattle Mariners made the biggest gamble in baseball history. They bid $13 million for a player most experts said would never survive 162 games in the majors. A 27-year-old from Japan who looked more like a college student than a professional athlete. The entire baseball world was watching, waiting for him to fail. But what happened in his first season didn't just prove the doubters wrong. It rewrote the record books and changed baseball forever. This is how one man's impossible dream became the stuff of legend. Before Ichiro ever stepped foot in America, he was already breaking records that seemed impossible to break. But to understand how he became the most dominant hitter in Japanese baseball history, you have to go back to when he was just 3 years old, standing in his backyard with a plastic bat. Ichiro Suzuki was born on October 22, 1973, in Nishi Kasugai-gun, Japan. His father Nobuyuki wasn't just passionate about baseball, he was obsessed. His father began intense training when Ichiro was very young. By age 7, he was already on a strict daily routine that shaped his swing. As a boy, his workouts included daily, high-volume drills, 50 infield, 50 outfield, 50 throws, and hundreds of swings. Rain or shine, sick or healthy, the routine never stopped. Nobuyuki took a black marker and wrote one word inside Ichiro's glove: concentration. It was a daily reminder that talent without focus meant nothing. The training sessions lasted hours, with his father throwing pitch after pitch while Ichiro worked on his swing mechanics. This wasn't casual catch in the backyard. This was boot camp for a future professional athlete. The regimen worked its way through Ichiro's development at Kasugai Maiden High School, where he refined the unique batting stance and approach that would later puzzle American scouts. His swing looked like a pendulum, hands high, coiling leg motion, then unloading with perfect timing. He compiled a .502 cumulative batting average at this top program, but when he entered professional baseball with the Oryx Blue Wave in 1992 as a fourth-round draft pick, teams had underestimated his size. Ichiro looked like another failed prospect. In 1992 and 1993, he barely saw playing time, stuck on the bench while coaches questioned whether his unconventional pendulum swing would ever work against professional pitching. His batting average hovered around mediocrity. Fans started wondering if all that childhood training had created a player too rigid for the professional game. But 1994 changed everything. Ichiro exploded onto the scene with a .385 batting average and 210 hits in a 130-game Japanese season, numbers that shattered every expectation anyone had for him. It wasn't just good, it was historically dominant. Japanese baseball had never seen anything like it. He wasn't just hitting singles either. He was getting on base at a rate that made opposing pitchers lose sleep. That breakthrough season was just the beginning. Ichiro went on to capture 7 consecutive batting titles, a streak that established him as the most consistent hitter in Japanese professional baseball. He earned 3 MVP awards in 1994, 1995, and 1996, performances so dominant that fans started calling him Kaibutsu, the monster. The nickname fit perfectly because what he was doing to opposing pitching staffs was absolutely monstrous. The individual success translated into team glory. Ichiro led Oryx to the Japan Series in 1995 and to the 1996 Japan Series title, proving he wasn't just a personal statistics machine but a winner who elevated everyone around him. His presence in the lineup changed the entire dynamic of the team. Pitchers had to adjust their entire approach when he stepped into the box. By his final season in Japan, Ichiro was hitting .387 and had become something approaching a national hero. He had mastered Japanese professional baseball so completely that there were no more mountains left to climb. Every record that could be broken had been shattered. Every award that could be won had been collected multiple times. Each at-bat was a lesson in precision, patience, and execution. Japanese fans had never witnessed anything quite like it, and they probably never will again. Ichiro had reached a level of consistent excellence that seemed to defy the normal ups and downs of professional sports. By 2000, Ichiro had become the most dominant hitter in Japanese baseball history. 7 straight batting titles, 3 straight MVPs, and the nickname that said it all, Kaibutsu. The monster had proven his father's brutal training methods worked and shown that his unique approach could succeed at the highest level. But dominating in Japan was one thing. Now Major League Baseball was calling, and one American team was about to place the biggest bet in baseball history. The posting system, formalized in 1999, let an NPB club post a player. MLB teams submitted sealed blind bids, and the winner earned a 30-day exclusive negotiating window. Oryx posted Ichiro after the 2000 season, and Seattle won the bidding with their $13 million offer. When the sealed envelopes were opened, general managers across baseball questioned whether Seattle had lost their minds. They were paying over $13 million just for the right to negotiate with a player who had never faced major league pitching. But the Mariners' front office had done their homework. Pacific Rim scouting director Jim Colborn had been tracking Ichiro for years, and general manager Pat Gillick supported the aggressive pursuit. They saw something others missed. The skepticism was immediate and brutal. Baseball experts looked at Ichiro's physical frame and saw a disaster waiting to happen. At 5'9" and weighing only 160 pounds, he looked more like a track runner than a professional baseball player. How could someone that size possibly survive the grind of 162 games against the biggest, strongest pitchers in the world? American scouts had watched Ichiro play in Japan, but their reports raised more questions than they answered. His batting stance looked completely wrong by traditional standards. He started with his hands high, his body turned toward the pitcher in an unorthodox setup that violated every fundamental hitting principle taught in American baseball. Veteran coaches wondered how he could possibly generate enough power to drive balls through major league infields. After winning the posting bid, Ichiro signed a 3-year deal worth roughly $14 million with the Mariners. The contract made the total investment even more staggering. Seattle had committed over $27 million to a player most experts predicted would fail. The pressure wasn't just coming from American critics. As the first Japanese position player to join MLB via posting, Ichiro carried unique cross-cultural weight. Previous Japanese players had been pitchers who appeared once every 5 games, but position players faced different challenges. They had to hit every day, adjust to different pitching styles, and prove themselves in a completely foreign baseball culture. Japanese media coverage was intense, making his arrival a national story in Japan while remaining a niche curiosity for most American fans. Baseball analysts predicted failure with stunning confidence. They argued that Japanese pitching was inferior to major league competition, meaning Ichiro's gaudy statistics were inflated. American pitchers threw harder, had better breaking balls, and would expose his unconventional approach quickly. Many experts gave him less than a 50% chance of lasting a full season as a regular starter. The Mariners found themselves defending their decision against mounting criticism from media, fans, and rival executives. Team president Chuck Armstrong and general manager Pat Gillick held press conferences explaining their scouting reports and their belief in Ichiro's unique skill set. At his introductory press conference, Ichiro himself seemed to understand the magnitude of the moment, describing his opportunity to play for Seattle as living out a childhood dream. The weight of expectations created a pressure cooker environment that few athletes had ever experienced. Every at-bat would be analyzed, every strikeout would be used as evidence of failure, and every success would be dismissed as luck or weak competition. Ichiro was working closely with Jim Colborn during his preparation, but even the most optimistic projections seemed conservative given the cultural and competitive barriers he faced. The stakes couldn't have been higher for multiple parties. The Mariners had invested their credibility along with their money. Japanese baseball's reputation hung in the balance, and Ichiro faced the possibility of becoming either a trailblazer who opened doors for future Japanese position players or a cautionary tale about the dangers of crossing cultural and competitive boundaries. Baseball history was littered with players who dominated in other countries but failed spectacularly in the major leagues. The game was faster, the competition was deeper, and the cultural adjustment was overwhelming for many international players. Ichiro was walking into a situation where even moderate success would be considered surprising by many observers. Spring Training 2001 would provide the first glimpse of whether the gamble would pay off. But the real test would come when the games started counting. April 11, 2001. One throw would silence every doubter and announce the arrival of something special. The skepticism hadn't faded during Ichiro's first week in the majors. If anything, it had gotten worse. American fans watched his unorthodox batting stance and wondered how long it would take for major league pitchers to expose his weaknesses. Sports talk radio hosts debated whether the Mariners had wasted their money on a player who looked more like a college track athlete than a professional baseball player. The criticism wasn't just about his hitting either. Scouts had questioned his arm strength for months, suggesting that his defensive reputation in Japan wouldn't translate to the bigger ballparks and faster runners of Major League Baseball. Right field in the American League required a cannon for an arm, not the weak throwing ability that many observers believed Ichiro possessed. Oakland was visiting Seattle for an early season series, and the Athletics were testing Ichiro's defensive skills every chance they got. Runners were taking extra bases, coaches were waving players around from first to third on singles, and opposing teams were treating his arm like it was attached to a little league player rather than a professional athlete. That's when Terrence Long made his move. Long was a solid outfielder himself, fast enough to steal bases and smart enough to take advantage of defensive weaknesses when he spotted them. After reaching first base on a clean single, Long decided to test the new Japanese player everyone was talking about. As the next batter made contact and the ball was fielded, Long broke for third base. This was the moment every scout and critic had been waiting for. Long was fast, he had gotten a good jump, and the throw from right field would need to be perfect to have any chance of getting him out. Based on everything they had heard about Ichiro's arm strength, this should have been an easy advance for the Oakland runner. Ichiro had positioned himself perfectly, reading the play before it developed like he had some kind of internal radar system. As the ball came his way, he moved toward it with fluid, economical steps that suggested he had calculated the exact angle and timing needed for the throw. His body was already coiled and ready before he even touched the baseball. The moment his glove made contact with the ball, Ichiro unleashed a throw that defied every scouting report that had questioned his arm strength. It was laser accurate, traveling on a perfect line from right field to third base like it had been shot from a cannon. The ball arrived at third base so quickly that Long barely had time to realize what was happening. The throw beat Long by several steps, catching him completely off guard and leaving him stranded in the middle of the base path with nowhere to go. The stadium fell into stunned silence as fans tried to process what they had just witnessed. This wasn't supposed to happen. The weak-armed Japanese player wasn't supposed to gun down major league runners with throws like that. Ichiro's teammates erupted from the dugout, their faces showing the same shock and amazement as everyone else in the ballpark. Oakland players stared from their dugout, unable to believe that their runner had been thrown out by such a wide margin. Broadcasters and teammates immediately reacted like they'd seen something special. The reaction was immediate and transformative. In one singular moment, Ichiro had shattered every preconceived notion about his defensive abilities. The throw was so perfect, so unexpected, and so powerful that it forced everyone to reconsider everything they thought they knew about this Japanese player. That single defensive play became one of the iconic plays that changed how America saw Ichiro. The narrative flipped overnight, from "could he survive" to "this guy belongs here." Baseball fans love to see spectacular defensive plays, but what Ichiro had done went beyond spectacular. It was a statement that announced his arrival as a legitimate major league talent. In one throw, Ichiro proved his arm was as dangerous as advertised, and his baseball IQ was off the charts. But this defensive gem was just a preview of what was about to unfold over the next 5 months. What Ichiro did in his first MLB season didn't just break records. It rewrote what people thought was possible at the major league level. The Seattle Mariners had gambled everything on their Japanese import, and now they were about to discover whether $13 million would look like genius or madness. Ichiro became the centerpiece of the Mariners' historic run from his very first game. While other rookies struggled to adjust to major league pitching, he was making contact at a rate that left opposing coaches scrambling to find weaknesses in his approach. His batting stance still looked unconventional to American eyes, but the results were undeniable. His league-leading .350 batting average stunned baseball traditionalists who believed Japanese players couldn't handle American pitching. But Ichiro wasn't just hitting for average. He was accumulating hits at a pace that broke rookie records. His 242 hits shattered expectations and established a new standard for what rookie production could look like in the modern era. His 56 stolen bases terrorized opposing pitchers and catchers throughout the season. The threat of Ichiro taking off for second base changed the entire dynamic of every at-bat that followed. Pitchers had to throw more fastballs to give catchers a chance to throw him out, which made life easier for the dangerous hitters batting behind him in the lineup. The Mariners' record-tying 116 wins represented one of the greatest regular season performances in baseball history. Ichiro's presence at the top of the lineup set the tone for every game, getting on base and creating scoring opportunities that turned close games into comfortable victories. His speed and baseball intelligence made him like having an extra coach on the field. The postseason provided Ichiro with his first taste of October baseball, and he proved himself ready for the biggest stage. His .600 batting average in the division series against Cleveland showed that the pressure of playoff baseball only seemed to sharpen his focus. His 12 hits in that series tied the record for most hits in an ALDS, proving his regular season success wasn't a fluke. Even though the Mariners eventually lost to the Yankees in the championship series, Ichiro's playoff performance silenced any remaining doubters about his ability to perform when the stakes were highest. He had gone from unknown commodity to playoff star in less than 8 months. The historic achievement of winning both Rookie of the Year and MVP in the same season placed Ichiro in exclusive company. Only Fred Lynn had accomplished this rare double honor before 2001, making Ichiro just the second player in baseball history to achieve this feat. He also captured a Gold Glove and Silver Slugger, proving his two-way value on both offense and defense. This double honor represented more than individual excellence. It validated the Mariners' faith in international scouting and proved that success could come from unexpected places. Ichiro had shown that a contact hitter could thrive in an era increasingly dominated by power, and that Japanese professional baseball produced talent capable of starring at the highest level. The cultural impact extended far beyond baseball statistics. Japanese fans stayed up through the night to watch Ichiro's games, and American fans began to appreciate a style of play that emphasized precision over power. He was like a master craftsman working with a precision instrument while others swung sledgehammers. His rookie season success opened doors for future Japanese position players and changed how major league teams evaluated international talent. Scouts began looking beyond traditional metrics to identify players who could impact games through intelligence, technique, and preparation, rather than just raw physical tools. So how did a 27-year-old with that build do it? The answer lies in understanding what made his game tick. But what he accomplished next would prove that his rookie season was just the beginning of something unprecedented. For 10 straight years, Ichiro produced 200-plus hits for 10 consecutive seasons, a modern-era anomaly that defied everything baseball experts thought they understood about consistency and excellence. To understand how remarkable this achievement was, you need to know that 200-hit seasons were becoming increasingly rare in Major League Baseball. The game was shifting toward power hitting and specialized pitching, making it harder for players to accumulate that many hits in a single season. While most hitters swung sledgehammers for power, Ichiro used a scalpel. His contact-heavy pendulum swing, combined with elite hand-eye coordination and rare durability that saw him average close to 159 games per year in his prime, created the perfect formula for sustained excellence. His unprecedented streak began with that magical 2001 rookie season and continued year after year as opposing teams desperately searched for ways to stop him. Pitchers studied video footage, coaches developed new defensive alignments, and entire organizations focused their preparation around containing one Japanese outfielder. Nothing worked. The pressure of maintaining this streak grew heavier with each passing season. Every spring training brought questions about whether this would be the year Ichiro finally came back to earth. Reporters counted his hits from April through September. Fans tracked his progress on websites, and opposing dugouts watched his at-bats with the fascination of witnesses to history. His pendulum swing that his father had drilled into him during those childhood training sessions proved perfect for accumulating hits at the major league level. Ichiro's hands started high, his body coiled like a spring, then unloaded with timing so precise that pitchers couldn't disrupt his rhythm. His exceptional hand-eye coordination allowed him to make contact with pitches that other hitters couldn't even touch. Ichiro also earned 10 consecutive Gold Gloves in his first 10 MLB seasons, proving his defensive excellence matched his hitting ability and that he wasn't just racking up hits but contributing elite defense as well. He was like having two all-stars occupying the same roster spot, contributing elite performance on both sides of the ball throughout his streak. His speed and base-stealing ability added another dimension to his offensive impact, putting constant pressure on opposing defenses and pitchers. Every time Ichiro reached base, the entire dynamic of the inning changed because everyone knew he could steal second or third at any moment. The mental approach and unwavering dedication to his craft separated Ichiro from players who relied purely on physical talent. His focus never wavered, his discipline never cracked, and his commitment to excellence never diminished even as the pressure mounted with each consecutive 200-hit season. This streak transformed how baseball evaluated contact hitting and proved that alternative approaches could thrive alongside the power revolution. Ichiro was demonstrating that excellence could be sustained through technique and preparation rather than raw power, challenging conventional wisdom about what it took to dominate Major League Baseball. His consistency became a measuring stick for offensive excellence, with players and fans alike marveling at his ability to perform at an elite level year after year. The streak represented more than individual achievement. It was a testament to the power of discipline, preparation, and unwavering commitment to craft. But even this remarkable decade of consistency would pale in comparison to what happened during one magical season when Ichiro decided to chase a record that had stood untouched for over 8 decades. In 2004, Ichiro set out to break a record that had stood for 84 years. And nobody thought it was possible. George Sisler's 1920 record of 257 hits seemed like one of those untouchable marks that would survive forever in the record books. Sisler had accomplished this feat during baseball's live ball era when offensive numbers were climbing across the league. Yet even in that hitter-friendly environment, no one had come close to matching his achievement. To understand why Sisler's record seemed unbreakable, you need to know how baseball had changed since 1920. The modern game emphasized power over contact, with players swinging for home runs rather than trying to accumulate singles and doubles. Starting pitchers threw fewer innings, relief specialists attacked hitters with maximum velocity, and defensive positioning had become more sophisticated. Everything about baseball had evolved to make hitting 257 times in a season nearly impossible. The mounting pressure began building early in the 2004 season as Ichiro started accumulating hits at a pace that put him in range of Sisler's mark. Baseball writers started tracking his progress, fans began calculating the math, and opposing teams realized they were witnessing a potential assault on one of the sport's most sacred records. Every at-bat carried extra weight as the season progressed. Between July 1st and September 6th, Ichiro caught fire like few players in baseball history. He collected 121 hits while batting .458 during this stretch, putting himself in position to challenge a record that had seemed impossible just months earlier. His consistency was like watching a master craftsman work with perfect precision, finding gaps in defenses and turning routine at-bats into base hits through pure skill and determination. The drama of each at-bat intensified as September arrived with games running out. Baseball fans across the country found themselves tracking Ichiro's hit total, watching a Japanese player chase an American record that had stood since their grandparents were young. Every swing carried historical significance, every contact created anticipation, and every hit brought him closer to immortality. His .372 batting average and league-leading performance while chasing the record demonstrated that this wasn't just about accumulating hits. Ichiro was having one of the greatest offensive seasons in modern baseball history. He was leading the American League in multiple categories, proving that his pursuit of Sisler's record was part of a complete dominant season rather than a singular focus. With 25 games remaining in the season, Ichiro was still 31 hits away from breaking the record. The mathematics seemed challenging, but his hot streak had created momentum that made the impossible feel achievable. Every game became must-see television for baseball fans who understood they might be witnessing history. October 1st, 2004, arrived with Ichiro needing just 2 hits to make history. The packed stadium in Seattle understood the significance of the moment as their Japanese star stepped into the batter's box carrying the hopes of 2 nations on his shoulders. With the city watching, he produced a 3-hit night to pass Sizzler, sending the crowd into a frenzy that celebrated both individual achievement and cultural significance. The significance of this achievement extended beyond baseball statistics. Here was a player from a different country, playing a different style of baseball, proving that excellence transcends cultural boundaries. The media coverage focused on the historical importance of the moment, recognizing that barriers had been broken along with the record. Ichiro finished the season with 262 hits, shattering Sizzler's old mark by 5 hits and establishing a new standard that has remained untouched. His 225 singles set another MLB record, highlighting his approach of consistently finding ways to reach base rather than swinging for power numbers that dominated baseball headlines. In an era dominated by power and specialized relief pitching, Ichiro's 262 hits were a statistical marvel and a rebuke to the idea that contact could no longer dominate. His achievement redefined what was possible in modern baseball, proving that alternative approaches could still produce record-breaking results. But even this historic achievement would be just one chapter in a career that still had more magic to deliver. The trade to the New York Yankees on July 23, 2012, marked a dramatic shift in Ichiro's career trajectory. Seattle sent him to New York in exchange for pitcher Danny Farquhar and DJ Mitchell, recognizing that their franchise cornerstone deserved a chance to compete for championships in his twilight years. The Yankees, leading the American League East, viewed Ichiro as a valuable veteran presence who could contribute to their playoff push. His impact in pinstripes proved immediate and meaningful. For the first time since his magical rookie season in 2001, Ichiro returned to postseason baseball during the 2012 American League Division Series against Baltimore. He contributed to a crucial 5-run rally in the 9th inning of Game 1, demonstrating that his clutch gene remained intact even as his physical skills had diminished. The Yankees rewarded his contributions with a 2-year, $13 million contract before the 2013 season. That August, Ichiro reached another remarkable milestone by collecting his 4,000th combined hit between MLB and NPB during a game against Toronto. This achievement highlighted his extraordinary consistency across 2 different professional baseball cultures and reinforced his status as a global ambassador for the sport. Ichiro continued his quest with the Miami Marlins, signing as their 4th outfielder in 2015. While his offensive numbers reflected his advancing age, his professionalism and baseball intelligence remained valuable assets for the young Marlins roster. The organization recognized his worth by exercising their club option to retain him for additional seasons. August 7, 2016, at Coors Field in Colorado, became one of the most memorable moments in recent baseball history. Ichiro stepped into the batter's box needing just 1 hit to reach 3,000 for his MLB career, carrying the expectations of fans across 2 continents on his shoulders. The drama built with each pitch as the stadium crowd understood they were witnessing potential history. His triple into the gap sent the crowd into celebration mode, making him and Paul Molitor the only 2 players ever to reach 3,000 hits with a 3-base hit. The emotional significance of the moment transcended baseball statistics, representing the culmination of a journey that had begun with a 3-year-old boy facing 500 pitches from his father in a Japanese backyard. The 2018 reunion with Seattle created one of sport's most heartwarming stories. The Mariners signed their prodigal son to a 1-year deal that allowed the franchise and its fans to properly celebrate his contributions to their history. His limited playing time that season reflected his transitional role as mentor and ambassador rather than everyday performer. In 2025, he was elected to the Hall of Fame with 393 of 394 votes, the first Japanese-born player inducted. Receiving 99.746% of the vote, he fell just 1 vote short of unanimous selection, joining the most elite group of baseball immortals while breaking new ground for international players. When he arrived, Only 17 Japanese players had ever reached the majors. By his retirement, that number had nearly quadrupled to 65, with each new arrival walking through doors he had kicked open. Which of Ichiro's moments convinced you he belonged? The April 11th throw, the 2001 season, or the 262 hit year? Tell us in the comments. Like and subscribe for more baseball history. Ichiro finished the season with 262 hits, shattering Seisler's old mark by 5 hits and establishing a new standard that has remained untouched. His 225 singles set another MLB record, highlighting his approach of consistently finding ways to reach base rather than swinging for power numbers that dominated baseball headlines. In an era dominated by power and specialized relief pitching, Ichiro's 262 hits were a statistical marvel and a rebuke to the idea that contact could no longer dominate. His achievement redefined what was possible in modern baseball, proving that alternative approaches could still produce record-breaking results. But even this historic achievement would be just one chapter in a career that still had more magic to deliver. The trade to the New York Yankees on July 23, 2012 marked a dramatic shift in Ichiro's career trajectory. Seattle sent him to New York in an exchange for pitcher Danny Farquhar and DJ Mitchell, recognizing that their franchise cornerstone deserved a chance to compete for championships in his twilight years. The Yankees, leading the American League East, viewed Ichiro as a valuable veteran presence who could contribute to their playoff push. His impact in pinstripes proved immediate and meaningful. For the first time since his magical rookie season in 2001, Ichiro returned to postseason baseball during the 2012 American League Division Series. Against Baltimore, he contributed to a crucial 5-run rally in the 9th inning of Game 1, demonstrating that his clutch gene remained intact even as his physical skills had diminished. The Yankees rewarded his contributions with a 2-year, $13 million contract before the 2013 season. That August, Ichiro reached another remarkable milestone by collecting his 4,000th combined hit between MLB and NPB during a game against Toronto. This achievement highlighted his extraordinary consistency across 2 different professional baseball cultures and reinforced his status as a global ambassador for the sport. Ichiro continued his quest with the Miami Marlins, signing as their 4th outfielder in 2015. While his offensive numbers reflected his advancing age, his professionalism and baseball intelligence remained valuable assets for the young Marlins roster. The organization recognized his worth by exercising their club option to retain him for additional seasons. August 7, 2016, at Coors Field in Colorado, became one of the most memorable moments in recent baseball history. Ichiro stepped into the batter's box needing just 1 hit to reach 3,000 for his MLB career, carrying the expectations of fans across 2 continents on his shoulders. The drama built with each pitch as the stadium crowd understood they were witnessing potential history. His triple into the gap sent the crowd into celebration mode, making him and Paul Molitor the only 2 players ever to reach 3,000 hits with a 3-base hit. The emotional significance of the moment transcended baseball statistics, representing the culmination of a journey that had begun with a 3-year-old boy facing 500 pitches from his father in a Japanese backyard. The 2018 reunion with Seattle created one of sports' most heartwarming stories. The Mariners signed their prodigal son to a 1-year deal that allowed the franchise and its fans to properly celebrate his contributions to their history. His limited playing time that season reflected his transitional role as mentor and ambassador rather than everyday performer. His retirement ceremony in Tokyo on March 21, 2019 brought his professional baseball journey full circle in perfect symmetry. Playing his final games in his home country allowed Japanese fans to bid farewell to their greatest baseball export while honoring his 28th season. professional career that had transformed the sport's global landscape. Combined, Ichiro finished with 4,367 professional hits, about 1,278 in NPB and 3,089 in MLB, a combined total that fuels ongoing debates about how to count career hits. These weren't just statistics, they were testimony to his unwavering commitment to perfection across multiple decades and cultures. In 2025, he was elected to the Hall of Fame with 393 of 394 votes, the first Japanese-born player inducted. Receiving 99.746% of the vote, he fell just one vote short of unanimous selection, joining the most elite group of baseball immortals while breaking new ground for international players. The numbers tell an incredible story, but they only capture part of what Ichiro accomplished. His career represents something much larger than individual achievement, a complete transformation of how the baseball world thinks about talent, culture, and the paths to greatness. The Mariners' posting gamble was vindicated by Ichiro's immediate 2001 validation, Rookie of the Year, and MVP with 242 hits while anchoring a 116-win team. His decade of 200-hit seasons proved the consistency. The 262-hit record in 2004 rewrote history, and his eventual 3,000 Major League Baseball hits cemented his legacy. Ichiro's career proved that elite hitting, preparation, and durability could upend scouting orthodoxy, and that a 27-year-old import could change how MLB evaluates talent worldwide. When he arrived, only 17 Japanese players had ever reached the majors. By his retirement, that number had nearly quadrupled to 65, with each new arrival walking through doors he had kicked open. Which of Ichiro's moments convinced you he belonged? The April 11th throw, the 2001 season, or the 262-hit year? Tell us in the comments. Like and subscribe for more baseball history.